If you're looking for the best, easy vanilla buttercream frosting, I've got the recipe for you. Hi, I'm Lindsay from Life, Love, and Sugar, and today we're talking all about buttercream frosting. So the first thing you're gonna need is your butter, and I actually use shortening. I know a lot of people use all butter in their frosting, and you totally can do that with this recipe. Just swap out the shortening. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. But I tend to like adding the shortening in with the butter. If you're not a huge fan of the taste of butter, shortening kind of cuts that down a little bit. For consistency purposes, shortening is kind of nice. Buttercream with all butter, if it sits out for too long, can kind of get a little soft. I like that the shortening keeps it thicker for longer, especially if you're in a warm climate. So it's something you can play around with and test out, but I tend to use half and half in my frosting. So we've got half butter, half shortening. All right, and we've also got our powdered sugar. This is an American buttercream, more of a decorator style buttercream, and so it's got a fairly large amount of powdered sugar in it. That also has to do with consistency, which we'll talk more about, but I use a pretty standard 4 cups of powdered sugar to 1 cup of a butter shortening combination. And then from there we have our liquid ingredients, which we're gonna use for consistency and flavor. So I tend to use either milk or water, and then an extract. We're using vanilla extract today because we're making vanilla buttercream. But if you wanted like a strawberry frosting, you could replace your milk or water with strawberry puree or lemon juice for a lemon buttercream, anything. So it's really easy to change it up and make different flavors, but that's where that comes in. So to get started, we're gonna add our butter and shortening to our mixer. And we're gonna mix that up, get it nice and smooth. All right, so you want to make sure your butter and shortening are fully combined and nice and smooth, so we've got that going pretty well. And then we're going to add about half of our powdered sugar. So you can kind of add that in a few parts. So you're going to want to mix that together until it's pretty well combined and smooth. I often turn off the mixer, scrape down the sides, make sure everything's getting well incorporated. All right, so we'll give it a good scrape on the sides, and then add a little bit more powdered sugar. So now that we've got our powdered sugar, about half of our powdered sugar mixed into our butter and shortening, we're gonna add some liquid to kind of keep it from getting too thick as we add the rest of our powdered sugar. Generally for this amount of frosting, which is about 1 cup of the butter shortening combination and 4 cups of powdered sugar, I use anywhere from 3 to 5 tablespoons of liquid to get the right consistency. And again, that goes back to what you're gonna be frosting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm gonna start out with the lower amount of liquid so that I'm not getting too thin of a frosting right from the get-go. So we're just gonna add a couple tablespoons to start. And then we're gonna add our vanilla extract and let that combine. All right, so now we're gonna add the rest of our powdered sugar. So it'll be a little grainy at first, but it'll come together. Just keep mixing. You're gonna wanna look for it to get well combined and smooth. Again, you wanna scrape down the sides and make sure everything is getting well incorporated. That powdered sugar likes to stick to the sides of the bowl. Okay, so things are looking pretty well combined now. So So if you've ever looked at my tutorial for frosting a smooth cake, consistency is really important because if you use that paper towel to smooth out the sides, you don't want it to stick to the cake. So you've got to have a thick enough frosting that that's not going to be an issue, but not something so thick that it won't stick to the sides of your cake. I use kind of what I would call the finger test. It's not an official method except for me, but I just kind of dab my finger on the frosting and see how it sticks to my finger. So this is what I'm getting, which is actually a pretty solid consistency. This whole pad of my finger was dipped into the frosting, but it's sticking really to roughly about half of my finger, which is actually pretty much the perfect consistency for the cakes that I frost. So that's actually really what you're looking for. If less frosting sticks to your finger, you're gonna wanna add a little bit more liquid. So we actually don't need to add anything else to this, but we could, if we're gonna frost something like cupcakes or things like that, where our frosting could be a little bit thinner and potentially easier for piping. Maybe you want it to stick a little better if you're doing some intricate details on the side of your cake. You can definitely add more water or flavoring or whatever it is that you're working with. So this is the buttercream that you're gonna end up with. It's a buttery, creamy, smooth vanilla frosting. Perfect for your cakes, cupcakes, and whatever else you might want to put it on. For the full recipe, head over to lifeloveandsugar.com.